Hello and welcome to Billy Goat Wargaming. There's something a bit different today. So I am running the AK-47 Reloaded Gaming Day at Battlefield Hobbies in Daventry, taking place on the 9th of October 2021. As part of that, I'm building narrative for the fictional imagination, if you like, country where the games day will take place. It's going to be a sort of mini campaign, so all of the players will be split into two groups. You'll have either fight for the government side or the rebels or the separatists. And as part of that sort of narrative, I'm building my own AK-47 army. I've got lots of AK-47 already, but I do have enough figures for a couple more armies. And I thought what it'd be fun to do is to do some head swaps. So that's what I'm going to do on camera today. Let's just zoom in so you can see this a little bit better. So what we've got are some AK-47 regulars. Now these are regulars armed with AK-47s, strangely enough. And I've got enough here for a unit, so it's going to be 5 bases of small arms. That's 5 bases of 3 figures, and the weapons that they're armed with doesn't really matter. So I think there might, yes, there we go. There's a guy here with a light machine gun. What we're going to do is chop off these heads, so they're in sort of soft field caps at the moment. Certainly the most of them are. And the field caps have got that sort of neck cloth to protect the back of the neck. And what we're going to do is put some new heads on just to make them look a little bit different. And the heads we're going to use are these. Now, these are from the modern spare head range from Peter Pig. And they're actually Cold War Swedish helmets. Martin tells me that these are a big seller since he released them. I assume there was a request from a customer to do these. But what I thought would be fun would be to put this head on these figures and make a unique figure. And these will become the something like the Democratic Guard or the Presidential Guard for Dr. Chumbawambo, who is the president of my imagination of Mungo. So that's what we're going to do. I'll probably just do a couple on camera just to demonstrate how easy this is. Now, depending on the pose of the figure, we'll show you how easy it is to do these head swaps. Now this guy here, his neck cloth sort of goes down his back a little bit, but we have a file here which will get rid of that. And what we're going to do is use my pair of pliers. Crikey, these are a bit stiff actually. Goodness me, need a bit of oil on them. In fact, I may not use those. I think what I'll do is, I don't think I've got another pair. No. So what I'll do is I'll use these as pliers just to twist the head off. Then we're going to file the neck flat, drill into the neck, and just drop the new head in on a spigot. Some of the poses might make it more challenging than others. So this officer guy, he should be fairly easy. So we'll just twist his head off, give it a little bit of a file, and it'll drop straight in. Now, as part of the unit, there's 5 bases of small arms and 4 bases of RPGs. And a figure like this, where the head is a little bit more integral to the rest of the body, as you can see, it's sort of up against the RPG there. That may be a bit more difficult. I've only got 20 and we've got 15 bodies here, so I've got enough out of the 8 RPG figures, because there's 2 figures to an RPG base. 5 will get one of these, so this guy as well might be a bit problematic, but we'll see how we go. I suspect I'll end up chopping half of his head off and then having to cut the rest away, but we'll see how we go. I'm not absolutely dead fussy about these, because I suspect once the paint's on and the glue's set. So what we're going to, the equipment I'm using is my pin vise, my Rocket Odorless crystal clear foam safe non-blooming cyano glue, bonding in 10 to 20 seconds. That's the closest to super glue I can get personally. I have a little 2p piece which I'll be putting the super glue onto, and a piece of wire to assist me in applying it, and then some clippers, Stanley knife should I need it, file, etc. So here we go. Let's see how we get on. Let's just choose one of these guys to go first. So I'll choose a relatively easy one, which I think will be that officer that I showed you initially. So let's go with him. Lovely figure this is. This AK held across his body, obviously shouting. So what I'll do is snip one of the heads off the spigot, off the sprue, sorry. Peter Pig do lots and lots of these. So there's the first head I'll use. Now the spigot there may be a bit too long, but we'll see how we get on. And now we have to do the surgery upon this poor fellow. So what we'll do, I'm not snipping the head off. What we're going to do is grab it and just twist. And there you go, it comes off very, very easily. It's come off relatively clean, but what we shall do is just file the neck. So I've got a flat surface to work on. Pair of pliers is by far better, I think, to take these heads off. The real expert at this is Les Bealby Tipping, who showed me this method at a Weymouth, put my teeth in, Weymouth War Games Weekender. I think he had an electric drill as well, actually. So there we go. There's one headless figure. So what we're going to do is just drill down into the top of the neck. So what I'll do is just put a little dent in, I think, which will just be my guiding hole with a little knife. Of course, the heads that you take off you could keep and look to put on other figures if you so wished. Now this hole doesn't have to be deep at all. Let's try and keep it as central as possible. And another little tip is one that Martin Goddard gave me, which was just to keep the bit wet. I think it might just help with the grip of the bit as it goes into the neck of the figure. Now it's probably gone in quite a way actually. You can see the bits of metal that have come away there. And of course what we can do initially is a test fit. I'm just going to drop the spigot in, and there you can see it fits in really nicely. So the bit on the end of this pin vise is the 1mm. This is a brand new pin vise actually. I'll just give the neck a little file where the bit will have ground up some of the metal. I'm going to clip off a tiny bit of the spigot. We're going to drop a tiny bit of glue onto my penny piece there. I have a really terrible allergy to super glue, the real stuff, but this is odourless super glue, and it's absolutely been a lifesaver for my hobby. Without it I certainly wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of that glue on the end of my bit of wire, and we'll just drop it into the hole, and then drop the head, hopefully, in. And of course once it's on, you can turn it to whichever way you wish. So I think we're having sort of looking that way. And there you go. One AK-47 regular soldier with a new head, using the Swedish Cold War helmet, which I think, if it isn't a bestseller, most likely will become one now. So through the art of demonstration, obviously I'm doing one at a time, but I would probably do 3 or 4 of these at once. In fact, probably let's cut off all of the heads off this one sprue, and we'll do these 4 figures. So what I'll do is so I've got 3 more to do. Let's choose this guy. I suppose you could just nip these heads off, but they do twist off very easily. Let's just see if I can use this. Goodness me, these are very old pliers. What these spare heads do is they enable you to create some unique figures in your collection. That's a better way of doing it. So gripping the figure like that and just twist, and there you go, he's decapitated. The other thing, of course, you could have a pile of heads, which would be perhaps a bit gruesome, but war is pretty gruesome. So I'm just shaving off the remnants of the neckcloth there, and then we'll just file the head. I find it far easier to hold the figure in this hand and file it like this across, rather than moving the file up and down. It's easier, I find, to move the figure up and down the file, because obviously the figure's that is smaller. So as before, I'm going to just pop a little locating hole in the neck. This metal is surprisingly soft. There we go. And locate that hole and start slowly. There we go. I'm struggling with that one, bear with me. This is live, folks, unedited. Sure, Les will be screaming at the screen right now. I haven't actually done this in a long while. It is remarkably easy. Don't let my ham-fisted abilities put you off doing this. There we go. So the file just needs, sorry, the pin vise just needs to find that purchase on the metal. And once it's in, that's why I tried to do that little guiding hole there, but I'd actually not quite located it where I needed it to, but no harm done. There we go. Once again, I'll just smooth it down where the pin has ground up the metal. So I'm taking probably half of that spigot off. A bit more. There we go. No, that's done it. As before, a little bit of super glue on the end of the wire. Touch of it on the neck. Got the head. Didn't actually test fit this one, but there you go. Hang on. There we go. Dropped in nicely. There you have a democratic guard figure kneeling. So we'll do one more on camera and we'll try one of the more awkward RPGs. So let's do this guy who's got a berry. And as you can see, his head is almost integral to the RPG itself. So what I'm going to do, rather than twist, because there isn't much to purchase, I'm going to decapitate him using the clippers. His head's gone flying off, and with a bit of careful surgery, I'm sorry if there's any real life surgeons out there who are disgusted at the way I'm treating this man with some basic combat surgery. What I don't want to do is leave the head on the RPG, so it's actually come off quite clean there. So let's give it a little file down. I'm just going to angle it so I'm not actually filing where the RPG itself is. Okay, so it probably has just caught the top of the RPG, but I'm hoping that when I plop the head in, that's not going to matter too much. So again, I'm going to just try and get a guiding hole there for the bit. So these videos do come out as I film now. I do no editing on them at all. As most of you will know, I run the God's Own Scale podcast, and that does take a considerable amount of time to get editing. So this channel is really just for fun, so to speak. Not that the podcast isn't fun, but I'll try and do a more professional job on the podcast. And this is really just me waffling on my own. About other topics. So there we go. You can see how much lead comes off with that drill with these little flashes here. So we'll take the next head we're going to use. We're going to snip there we go. So we'll sprig it off. I'm going to get the last bit of glue before it dries there. And plop it on his neck. And just to make sure he's facing the right way. I haven't test fitted this one again either. But there you go, that's actually gone in lovely. So there you go, that's better. There you go. There we have a very simple conversion. And that was a more difficult, certainly a more difficult figure. Or I thought it was going to be more difficult. It was actually relatively easy. So these helmets, I've just chosen these really because they're fairly unique helmets. They're Swedish Cold War helmets that Martin sells, and if I didn't use them for this conversion, I wouldn't get to use them. So what I'm going to do is I'll do a few more, and then in the next video I'll show you me painting them up. Painting up the Democratic Presidential Guard. So I hope you enjoyed that. Straightforward process, minimal tools required, dead easy. Okay, keep safe, play nice, and see you next time.